Chris and I had been doing graveyard shifts long enough to establish our rhythm, but that night felt off from the start. The first time the black sedan showed up, the clock had struck 12:30. I watched it circle the lot rather slowly and disappear, leaving dust and dread behind. It returned at 1:10, and then again at 1:45, repeating the same slow loop. I tried peeping inside, but the windows were too dark. When I told Chris about it, he shrugged and said, "Maybe they were lost. It is a highway, Maya." We went back to work, but I couldn't shake off the unease that something bad was about to happen. And it did, at around 2 a.m. I was scrubbing the counter when I heard car doors slam. I looked up to find two guys in black hoodies approaching us. Something about the way they moved made my heart clench. Before I could alert Chris, they kicked the door open. "Make a sound and it'll be your last," one of them shouted, pulling out the weapon from under his hoodie. It was a crowbar, gripped like he'd used it before. His friend pulled out a hunting knife. "Register, now!" he snapped, making me jump. I tried to open the register, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Chris came out of the kitchen and immediately paled. "Easy," he said, putting his hands up. "Just take whatever you want." The knife guy jumped over the counter and shoved me aside. I stumbled and landed at Chris's feet, while the robber took the cash and growled as if disappointed. $343? Where's the rest?" he demanded, eyes darting all around. "Tell me or I start cutting."
That's all we've got. Please, we don't.
I choked. He retorted with a smack across the face so hard it made my ear ring. "Lie again and see what happens," he hissed. Chris tried to step in, but the crowbar guy wouldn't let him. The swing landed hard in his ribs, making him drop to his knees. Before he could recover, the robbers started herding us both into the back office. They kept demanding money, hurling profanities and kicks. When they still couldn't find anything, the guy with the knife snapped. But before he could reach out to me, Chris pulled me up and shoved me back into the walk-in freezer. He slammed the door before I could react.
Chris!
I threw myself against the door, but it wouldn't budge. Through the small window in the steel, I watched everything fall apart. Chris was already bleeding from the ribs, yet he positioned himself between the robbers and the freezer. He kept shouting at them to back off, to leave us alone. They didn't listen. The crowbar guy kicked him in the face, making his nose just explode. Still, he wouldn't release his grip. I don't remember ever feeling so helpless and scared before. When they finally kicked Chris hard enough in the temple, his hands went slack, and I froze. I stared in horror as the knife guy pulled free and started toward the freezer. Chris launched himself off the floor and tackled him down right in front of my window. He was on top, trying to pin the guy, blood all over his face and dripping onto the man beneath him. That's when the crowbar guy brought it down on the back of Chris's head. My best friend went limp. The knife guy shoved him off, allowed him to roll onto his back before he drove the blade into the stomach. The scream tore through the room. It was wet and broken and full of pain. The guy pulled the knife out and stabbed him again. Chris's body jerked, and he made this choking noise. The third time the blade went in, Chris didn't make any sound at all. His hand just reached up, as if he was trying to hold on to something. Blood was spreading across the floor so fast I couldn't process it. The two guys realized what they'd done and bolted in panic. Chris was lying on his back. His arms were spread out, and there were 3 holes in his torso. Blood was pumping out with every heartbeat. His mouth kept opening and closing, but only more blood came out. He was trying to breathe, but couldn't get air. He turned his head toward the freezer. His hands started moving across the floor, and it left a trail of blood as it went. He pressed his palm flat against the door, right where mine was on the other side. 6 inches of steel between us, and I couldn't reach him. I watched his lips move. I couldn't hear him through the door, but I knew what he was saying. Safe. Then His hands started sliding down slowly. It left a long red streak on the white door. His eyes were still open, still pointed in my direction, but he wasn't seeing anything anymore. What I remember most is the cold, how it crept into my bones and stayed there, how I screamed until my voice was completely gone, how Chris's blood looked almost black under the bright lights instead of red like it should have been. I don't remember who found us or called the police, but I do remember how hard I begged the paramedics to save my friend. They tried for 18 minutes, but 3 stab wounds and massive internal bleeding weren't something they could undo. Eventually, Chris lost the fight. Police caught the punks 6 hours later at a motel 2 towns over. They still had the knife and $347 in cash. That was the price of my best friend's life. It's been 9 months, and I'm still not over it. I don't think I'll ever be. Sometimes, late at night, I feel that freezer cold again. I see Chris's hands sliding down the door, leaving that red streak behind.